high or low self-esteem, and the causal attributions they give depends upon whether they're high or low, but that we're able to help children who have low self-esteem to develop higher self-esteem. As teachers and parents, there are strategies we can use to try to help these children develop higher self-esteem. All right? Children with low self-esteem often exhibit learned helplessness, which, as an adult, having to work with that child is really frustrating. Okay? They just don't think they can do anything, they just wait for it to be done. Right? I need help, I can't do this. So they learn helplessness, which as a teacher, really you have to try to work around. I think we don't do a very good job in our schools because they make us sit still and do as we're told all the time. That doesn't help us learn to be independent and organize our learning for ourselves. So our school system tends to drive some learned helplessness as well. Now when we look at adults, they also are going to evaluate themselves, so they have ways of telling whether they're good or bad, this perceived competence idea, but the way that they evaluate is slightly different to children. Peer evaluation has much less sway with you as an adult. Right? So adults use particularly their own experience at something. So my past and present accomplishments at a particular task are the most important driver of my self-esteem for that task. Right? Even if someone else keeps telling me I'm good at it, it's my perception that's important. Right? So we do some comparison with others, although that's variable depending upon the age group that you're looking at. Because if I'm in my 70s, I may not have the opportunity of seeing other 70-year-olds moving and being physically active. So then it would be difficult to make the comparison. Right? Verbal persuasion from others is a pretty weak influence. So you can do it, you're good at this, you're okay, you look nice. Right? Doesn't mean as much as what I think I look like. So that's an important one if you're working with adults who have goals to do with weight loss or how they're looking. Right? You can keep telling them they're doing well, but unless they believe they're doing well, it doesn't improve their self-esteem. Right? And as we get older, changing physiological states and the impact that has on our fitness levels is a big factor within our self-esteem. Right? If I've got poor eyesight as I get older and I'm a tennis player, then playing tennis well becomes harder and harder. And so my self-esteem, my perception of how well I can play tennis drops down because of poor eyesight. Possibly, right? So actual experience, vicarious experience, so watching a model who is a similar age group, right? Again, if you're going to work with older adults, be careful about that one, because you as a young adult can model these skills that you want them to have a go at very well, but you're not an appropriate model for them to judge whether or not they're capable of giving it a try. All right? You can show them how to do it very well, but that doesn't mean that's not motivating necessarily for them to give it a try because you're 25 and they're 75. Okay? So what we see then when we look at the the children and adult scenarios is that self-esteem changes across the lifespan, right? And can increase or decrease depending upon our experiences and our self-perceptions. The information does suggest that we can influence self-esteem with older adults if we can provide activities where they can be very successful. So what about motivations? Right. Self-esteem and motivation are linked when we look at children and at adults. If I'm going to start a program, I'm going to start training, I'm going to pick up a new sport, then motivation had to be pretty high for me to give that a try. Okay. So I'm going to start golf. Why? Right? What's the motivation for picking up golf when you retire? Might be socialization, might be a way of staying physically active, right? But there had to be a motivation there for you to start something new that you've not done, all right? And the same with training programs. When we look at exercise programs and activities, I said the other day, gym memberships, right, rely on us dropping out, but why did we start? Because we know that to be healthy, we need to move. So there's always a motivation there to get going. What we find is that we don't do a very good job of maintaining motivation often to stay engaged in that activity. So you guys are highly motivated because how long have you been training for? Right? Some of you have been training since you were 7 or 8, and now you're in your early 20s. So 15 years, you've been training pretty hard. That's highly motivating, right? So again, you're not a typical group because to maintain participation, you have to maintain that high level of motivation, and many people don't. They start it, they get going, and then they don't stay motivated, sometimes because they suspect they're not very good at it, so that impacts their motivation. Right? But this is a really important key when we go back to this health issue, this obesity issue. We've got type 2 diabetes is on the rise, cardiovascular disease is on the rise, obesity, overweight is on the rise. If we can't understand motivation and keeping people motivated to stay in an activity program, we can't impact long-term health for these populations. Right? Because lots of people stop. Lots of people. It's who keeps going is the key. All right, so dropping out and discontinuing are often due to things that I have control over. So I just don't want to get up when it's dark in the morning, and so I give up my running or walking program. Right? It's cold, it's dark, I don't want to get up anymore, so I don't do it. Sometimes we drop out due to things that are out of our control. So a family member gets sick and we have to take on an additional job, or we have to take on the role of going and collecting the kids or dropping the kids off. Right? So sometimes there are things that are out of our control that drive the discontinuation that we see, particularly with adults. So why do children say that they take part in activities, right? Particularly sport activities. So when you interview children, the kinds of language that you hear are often that they have a desire to be competent. They want to get better at the skill, or they've got a particular goal that they want to attain. Sometimes they say they want to play with, spend time with their friends, or make new friends. So sport activities, after school activities, city clubs are a good way for children who've just moved to a new area to get to meet kids and make new friends. Some individuals say, well, I like to be part of a team, and I want to play on my own. I like to be part of the team and the movement of the team. Some want to be competitive. I like to compete. I like to win. I like to be successful. Some will say, I want to have fun. And occasionally, particularly if you're looking at teenagers, you'll get conversations that involve fitness goals. And I want to be fitter. I want to be stronger. Right? Yes, sir.
How many cars do you consider like an older sibling?
Say that again, sir.
The older sibling plays that sport and the younger one wants to go.
Yes, that would probably be around, part of a team or affiliating with, they would consider their sibling friends. If we look at the literature and we go, well, what do the girls say versus what do the boys say, then we find that the girls often will say this one, right? That tends to be their primary answer. And then something to do with health. Okay, so that's one and that's two. When we look at the boys, what do you think boys' number one reason for persisting in sport? Yeah, it is. The second one, I think, is usually this one.
Can it be improving skills?
Yeah. Right? So, particularly as they get older, when you're looking at teenagers, the reasons given for participating in an after-school club. And this is important because when we look at high school girls, you've got a 50% dropout of high school sport. So you've got very, very few girls stay in sport once they get to high school. Right? If this is the reason they give for staying, then what are we doing wrong that so many of them are dropping out?
Losing.
Okay. Well, no, I don't think. Possibly. I think we make it too competitive, right? Win or lose becomes important in high school. Because someone's job is on the line in high school, right? A lot of high schools have a coach whose job depends on winning or losing. So the coach maybe has an atmosphere where winning or losing is the thing that's important, not having fun. And so the girls drop out.
How else would you teach them how to win?
It's all about
It's about being successful, not about winning.
But if you can win by being
It's not the
successful,
same thing, right? The goal should be to be successful. Can I go out and play better than I did last week?
but still.
What if your whole team played better than they did last week but still lost? Like,
Yeah,
where?
you
But that's why the goal can't be to win, because then you don't achieve your goal, and that's not fun.
They could have,
Right?
they could have triathletes
Huh?
crazy. You could just have like some lower level athletes, but
Yeah.
they progressing every week.
The goal
Some
should
days
be
goes
to play your best. Your best may or may not win, but you're not in control of what the other team does. You're only in control of what you do. And a goal should be measurable and controllable. Winning is a horrible goal. You have no control over whether you win. You only have control over whether you play well.
down.
Right? If the other team plays better, you don't win. What if I run 100 meters and my best time is 12 seconds and I go out and I run 100 meters in 10.9 seconds? Right? And I came in sixth.
Then those
Is that good or bad?
Yeah. Well, that's a good time, but if you're comparing yourself to everyone else.
That could be a
Right? If I shave 1.1 second off my 100 meter time, was I successful
Hell
or
yeah.
crap?
Yeah, you was successful, but you weren't successful enough in competition though.
So what do I have to be mad about?
lost.
Everybody else is faster. You can't beat someone who's faster.
That's what I'm saying, that's when you have a talk with yourself and you realize within yourself that you good enough for yourself, but you're just not good to compete like that. So you kind of,
Go to another sport or something.
Hey, y'all just make it sound bad, bro.
Oh, you guys. Ouch.
it's great, it's a great thing to accomplish the goal. It's good to improve, but you just don't say it. It's a positive thing for me.
If you play a team game and the goal is to win, doesn't only one person win? There aren't many team games where you allow a tie, right? So, two teams play, only one team wins. So you've only got a 50% chance going in of achieving your goal. This doesn't seem like a very good goal. And I'm not in control of it, so it's a really bad goal.
The game plan must not be good enough if you lose.
Hmm?
It's the game plan must not be good enough if you lose. If the goal is to go win. Must
No,
not-
maybe the other team just did a better job of dealing with your game plan.
That's why I'm not saying you're a bad person.
No.
I'm saying like it's
I'm
good.
glad you're not saying I'm a
Yeah,
bad person.
no, I'm
I
saying-
think I'm a good
I'm
person.
saying it's good. I'm saying it's you good enough for life, but you're not good for a sport. Like, that's why it's a sport.
Possibly.
I'm
That's
saying-
why I quit coaching.
No, I'm saying that's why it's a sport. Because you compete and like I ain't saying you're bad. You can be a great person, but like for sports and competing, you're just not.
But you can compete and be successful without winning. Right? Winning should not be the goal because you are not in control of winning. The goal setting literature says a goal has to be controllable.
You can control the winning.
You cannot be in control of winning. You cannot. That's not true. You cannot be in control of winning because you're not the only person competing. So you're not in control.
What if it's an individual sport?
That was my question. If it's an individual sport, I think you're.
Yeah.